Time for some Saturday night hoops. After some time off for the holiday, we hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and welcome to the pregame show here, the Sixers PHLY pregame show presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY to get Coors Light delivered or to find a store near you. Always good to have some Saturday night hoops against Detroit. Yes, that Detroit team in Detroit taking on the Pistons. Basketball. Should be a fun one tonight as the Sixers are still trying to find something to get them on the right track, and maybe it is the Pistons who played last night against Indiana in the NBA Cup game. They did win on the road in Indianapolis.
A win? What's that?
A win, yes.
You're allowed to get those?
We're unfamiliar with those, but the Pistons do have a few of those already in the win column. The Sixers are trying to catch up, and it starts tonight again. It starts every night when trying to get on a roll. But along with Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens. JP in for Bree. Bree is off tonight. She'll be back on Monday. All of you, of course, in the chat, as always, once again, we hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And right away, as part of our rundown, we were going to talk about Paul George, whether he was in or out of the lineup. And just before we came on, Kyle, we got the update from Keith from theinquirer.com stating that Paul George is, in fact, playing tonight.
I wish I could focus on that right now. I just want to make sure that we're clear that Nick Nurse decided it was a good idea to move Kelly Oubre back into the starting lineup over Jared McCain.
See, that's the part that threw you. The part that threw me was when Devon was in his intro talking about the Sixers having to catch up to the Detroit Pistons. And
Only I know
we've all lived through the 3-14, but every now and then you hear a statement that puts everything into perspective. And for me, that was it.
All right. Well,
Kelly Oubre starting over Jared McCain.
They're trying to make the push, Kyle. The push.
There is no universe where Kelly Oubre has been a better basketball player or more helpful to winning than Jared McCain.
This is what we keep talking about every night, where it's like I want to dive into like the X's and O's and like they're running this, they're running that. They need to do this. Can you just play the right people? Like, it doesn't seem that difficult to look at, hey, Kelly Oubre has stunk it up. Jared McCain, while he did not have a good previous game, has played a lot better. Play the good players and less of the bad players. Okay, anyway. Paul George. Paul George's return, which has moved the line for the game by a single point. And the Sixers are apparently still underdogs to the Detroit Pistons.
That's because Jared McCain's not starting. That's why.
Listen, man. So, look, it's good that Paul is able to play.
Yes,
right?
it is.
That he is back in the lineup, that hopefully, mercifully, he can get some weeks under his belt of consistent basketball, because there really is no way to replace his production on the wing, or at least his theoretical production, right? Because Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre on their best days are streaky shooters. And I know that Paul has had a really tough start to the year offensively, but we believe in our heart of hearts he's not going to shoot in the high 20s, low 30s as a three-point shooter this year. And so the hope will be that for, I guess, Kelly Oubre, who's going to need some driving lanes tonight, that you can open up some space on the floor for somebody like Maxey, for somebody like Oubre, maybe even, God forbid they actually do this, but maybe Andre Drummond has a little space to throw some elbows around and throw his weight around
at the
Isaiah
rim. Stewart, boy. Man.
Yeah, you throw any elbows at him, he might throw a haymaker right back. So
I'll try my hand at being Nick Nurse here to answer your question of why. Because of Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and the way Malik Beasley has been playing, even with Tobias Harris being out there at 6'9", at the forward position, that he wants some defensive length out there for those three. And with Tyrese Maxey already being a bit of a liability, even though he had 5 steals in the loss to the Houston Rockets on Wednesday, to have some length with George and Oubre out there with no Martin, and then Yabusele along with Andre Drummond in the starting lineup. That's me taking my hand at being Nick Nurse. Yeah. I don't know that I'm right, but I'm just
hey,
throwing
Nick
that
Nurse,
as an
why
option.
do you hate fun and shooting?
Yes. Because if Caleb Martin was healthy, he's probably starting over Jared McCain, and he also can't shoot.
I don't care. I don't care about matchups. I don't care. The Sixers right now have the 27th ranked offense in the league. The Pistons have the 23rd ranked offense. So even with their size, they're not all that good at putting the ball in the basket, and the Sixers are terrible at putting the ball in the basket. Start the player who is going to help you score points, because if you match up with Cade Cunningham marginally better, but you can't put that round ball through that round basket, none of it matters.
Also, I mean, brought up, hey, Jared didn't play well last game. You know who else didn't play well? Kelly Oubre. Because he hasn't played well most of the year. Every time that there's like a bit of positivity, it's like, Paul's coming back, right? We'll get to see PG next to Yabu and McCain and Maxey and Drummond, and you work through that a little bit. And instead, it's just, hey, let's add a guy we don't need to play more minutes than he's already getting to the lineup. Even
beyond tonight. This season, first of all, it doesn't matter unless Joel Embiid's knee cooperates. Well, nothing you do tonight's going to impact that. And in order for this season to matter, you have to do something that is going to drastically give you a shot in the arm that you're completely not expecting. We know what Kelly Oubre is. You start him tonight, you build up his confidence. He's still going to be Kelly Oubre tomorrow. You know who might end up being drastically better in 3 months than he is today? Jared McCain. Put him in a spot where he can grow. Put him alongside of Tyrese Maxey and Paul George so that trio can grow, because they are three of the few people that actually matter on this squad, both in the short term and the long term. Don't worry about matching up with a mediocre offense in the Detroit Pistons. Just don't worry about that.
I don't disagree. I'm just throwing it out there, man, that's what he was thinking, deciding to go in that route. So with that, Caleb Martin is out. So you lose another wing play. Even though you get Paul George back, you lose one as you bring Paul George back. And based on what we saw in the last game, Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, Ricky Council getting some run. Do you feel like that's a spot where we see now that Kelly is starting, Ricky gets the first nod over maybe Eric Gordon with Jared McCain coming in there?
I was gonna say, who? Huh?
Right.
What?
and then, are we going to see a lot of Yabusele minutes again at the 5 when Andre Drummond goes to the bench?
I will tell you this. If he benches Jared McCain for Kelly Oubre and plays Eric Gordon, I'm just done with this guy.
So
I just can't do it anymore.
We have a watch along today, so you can watch all of us lose our minds and rip our hair out.
I will be sitting here yelling
time.
about lineups. I'll be sitting here. Oh, listen, we're gonna have. I was gonna say a grand old time. I think that might be overselling it. We're gonna have as grand of a time as we can have watching Nick Nurse do whatever he's doing with these lineups. So, yeah. So I would say if Ricky does not play tonight and Gordon is back in those bench minutes the way he has been most of the year, I don't know
that would be
Nurse is watching. And I think, I gave him credit last game for Gordon played, wasn't very good. Ricky gets brought in, gives them energy, gives them rebounding, all the things that we talk about with Ricky. And Gordon sat the entire second half and overtime. So if you don't give the guy the minutes in the game immediately following that, and you go right back to the old veteran who can't move well, I don't know what you're watching as a staff at that point. So I hope that Ricky gets a chance, because I think he made good with his minutes. And I think we talked about it all off season, right? The idea that, a competitive environment brings out the best in people. Mm-hmm. Well, you also need to reward guys when they play well, because then if Ricky has the game that he had last game, and then you look at him and say you're a DMP or you're getting barely any minutes, and Eric Gordon, who's had a ton of leeway all year, is back out there, that'd be a bad sign for where things stand. Now, I will say, and I believe it came up on post-game show on, when was that, Wednesday when we talked after the Rockets game. Nurse said something to the effect of, someone asked, how do you keep the older veterans in the boat, so to speak? And he said, well, they've had their opportunities and you got to earn your minutes. And so I think that was a sign that maybe the KJs and the Rickies of the world are going to get more of a chance moving forward.
Yep, absolutely. So Caleb Martin out, Paul George in. Also, Jared McCain coming off the bench, where Kelly Oubre takes that starting spot in the backcourt next to Tyrese Maxey. So right now it's Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Gershon Yabusele, and Andre Drummond at the 5. So Jared McCain KJ Martin possibly, Ricky Council possibly getting some minutes tonight off the bench, and we'll see where Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson also fit into everything here. Let's get to our super chat from Bernard McCoy, who is jumping in. On this Saturday, Bernard says, if we had a do-over, I would draft the 6'7" Jalen Wells, who was the 37th overall pick, over McCain and Connect. Would have been a better fit next to Maxey. He's better than Desmond Bane.
No, what you do is you draft Jared McCain at 16, and then you buy an early second-round pick if you're that high on Jalen Wells. You don't take a guy 20 spots before anyone else would take him because you can always just acquire more picks.
You have both.
You could have both, yes.
You could have both. Yes.
If they believed in Jalen Wells, by the way, they would have gone out and bought a pick. Nobody believed in him at that spot. Otherwise, they would have, like I said, pursued a way to get him in addition to McCain.
Yeah.
He's having a good season, but that happens all the time.
He's been very good so far, but also I'm not prepared. I wouldn't have drafted Jared McCain. I mean, he's been the best rookie in the class so far.
Yeah, so. They'll both be on first team All NBA rookie squad, but you take Jared McCain, that guy's pretty good.
Let's not ruin one of the one good things we've had around here.
Let us have a little bit of fun.
Appreciate it, Bernard. Let's talk a little bit about Tyrese Maxey because he was fantastic in the game on Wednesday. 39 points, 10 assists for a double-double, 5 steals. Mentioned that a little bit earlier, Kyle, of how he played defensively. So with him playing so well offensively, looking like, again, what is this, 4 games back now? This will be game number 5 since he's been back after the injury with the hamstring, that he's really starting to look like himself. And the questions of can he carry? Houston is Houston. They got going, and they are one of the better teams in the NBA. While Detroit is 9-12, they are still a team that is not the Houston Rockets. And while we're sitting here still searching for the Sixers to get on some type of roll,
I would take a single win.
100%. 100%.
Forget a roll.
He looked really good on Wednesday, and the Pistons are playing the second night of a back-to-back. They do have a lot of young guys, so they should be pretty fresh overall going back home after a nice win against Indiana. Tyrese Maxey, again, is going to have to most likely, because we don't know what Paul George is going to look like. If he looks anything like we saw before the injury, that's not all that promising. Great. So with it, Maxey giving us the performance that he gave on Wednesday, you're hoping that he can stay on that pathway and keep it rolling with the heroics that he had.
Yeah, well, look, the good news is we've talked so much about how they need to get Tyrese and Paul off the ball more. So you took out the guy who can run the offense in favor of Kelly Oubre.
If I see Kelly bring the ball up and initiating a set, I will lose my mind.
That's so.
You know he is.
In an ideal world, in the world I would like to live in, maybe we'll open the multiverse tonight on the watch along. But the world that I would like to live in is one where you're giving Jared McCain some of those point guard reps, and Maxey is being used as the off-ball weapon, the catch-and-shoot type guy, or somebody who can be a closeout attacker rather than someone who needs to run into the wall over and over and over again. Because he did have a good game, but he had a good game because he just had to keep going and going and going in the second half. I mean, at one point he was, like 10 for 25? I think he might have had 26 points on 25 shots. Mm-hmm. And credit to him for still going to the rim and scoring and doing so much off of his own dribble. But the goal right now, as Derek laid out, their offense is 27th, one of the worst in the league. The goal right now should be making it easier for Tyrese Maxey, should be making it easier for Paul George. All they've done with this lineup is ensure that one of those two guys has to have the ball in their hands at any given time, because otherwise you're giving it to someone who we definitely don't want running the offense, right? So I'm hopeful that some of the lineup combinations they can put together will help Tyrese, and certainly PG, I feel like, has he played any minutes with Maxey and McCain at the same time? I'd have to go back and check, but if he has, it's probably been very few throughout the year.
Well, definitely played in Knicks game.
I think PG and Maxey have only played 45 total all season together. Yeah, so if you throw McCain in there, it's
limited opportunities, but those are probably pretty comfortably your 3 best shooters, right? So you can really juice up the offense with those guys depending on what you put around them. I guess the optimist take would be moving McCain to the bench is going to allow them in some way to work on some combinations like that. But given the struggles they've had with basic lineup staggering and combinations this year, I'm not so sure. So I hope that Tyrese can keep the momentum going. I hope the 3-point success he's had the last few games since his return is still there. I am dubious about how they're going to be asking him to sustain that, though.
Yeah. No, I don't like this lineup. Like, it's one thing. A lot of times, I think people make too much out of starting. It's how do the pieces fit, but it's the fact that this offense is a disaster. Like, it's a predictable disaster. You're going to trap Tyrese constantly, get the ball out of his hands. If the ball gets to PG, he hasn't played in a while. He's probably rusty.
Yeah.
You're going to ask him to do a lot. Or if it gets to Kelly or Drummond or Gershon, like, okay, you live with that. All you're doing is making it so much more difficult for your best player to succeed. And the only way you win with Joel out and Paul George, we don't know for sure. I haven't seen anybody actually report it, but it seems like he's probably on, if not a minutes restriction, at the very least, they will be conscious
They'll
of
be
his
keeping a close
minutes.
eye on him for sure.
So the only way you win a game like this is if Tyrese Maxey just goes bonkers and you're putting him in a spot to fail. You're putting him in a spot to fail.
And maybe he'll succeed anyway because he is
really
very
good at
talented
basketball,
and
yes.
he's been in a pretty good groove, as Devon pointed out. It's one of those that even if it does end up working, you just are like, that's probably not working for the right reasons. It's working because you have a couple really talented guys in the starting lineup who might be able to drag everybody else along.
And I do, like, Tom Jackson is in the chat saying that there need to be 0 minutes with neither McCain nor Maxey on the floor. We had somebody, we'll mention who, because we don't need to give him any more attention, mention that in our Discord as well. But to Kyle's point, you just stagger them. Like, you don't have to keep somebody on the bench so that when Maxey goes out of the game, you have someone there. You can just stagger their minutes, which, quite frankly, they've been doing. Jared has been coming out real early in the first quarter of these games anyway. You just keep doing that.
So the last time these two teams faced off, it was the game 4 of the Sixers season, and the Pistons came into town. They defeated the Sixers by 10, 105-95. Maxey had 32 in that game. Jaden Ivey couldn't miss. He had 23.
Update, Cade Cunningham is out.
Ooh, so he's now out.
Gee, it makes even less sense to...
Might even be a pick'em now.
1 point.
It makes even less sense to have Oubre in the starting lineup now because you don't have to worry about matching up with the bigger point guard.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that changes a lot of things because he did play last night.
Jaden Ivey about to put on a master class.
And you know he wants the basketball, boy. Yeah, that guy. Cunningham and Ivey last night. Cunningham with 24 in the win. Ivey 23. Cunningham also with 11 assists and 6 rebounds in the win over the Indiana Pacers. Tobias Harris had 16. Tim Hardaway Jr. got the start. He had 10, 14, and 12 for Jalen Duren, and 25 off the bench for Malik Beasley. So with that, and then you also mix in the athleticism of Asor Thompson and his ability to go out. We just saw his
Glad
twin.
he's back, by the way. I think last week was his return from, he's dealing with blood clots, I believe, end of last year. So glad to see him back out there and healthy.
Yeah, so we saw his twin brother for the Houston Rockets on Wednesday. We get to see Asar Thompson here tonight. And with that rotation, Ron Holland, Derek's guy from the draft, getting some minutes as well. Thompson, Stewart, Fontecchio. They have a pretty decent athletic bench that they will throw out there at the Sixers tonight. And again, they beat the Sixers in the first of the 3 matchups. This is game number 2. And they have some pretty good guys that come off the bench with Malik Beasley spearheading things. Again, shooting the ball well, 5 for 9 from 3 last night, forced 25 in the win over the Pacers. I believe also they're like 3-0 in group play. The Pistons are.
They are cup
Gotta get that title, baby.
Yeah,
clearly.
man, you gotta get it. Gotta get it.
I mean, jokes aside, I would say the difference this year is that, I mean, the Pistons are still a team that nobody is like, oh man, they're a threat or anything like that. But they're a respectable, like, you have to put forth a professional effort against them. And that was kind of what we said in the summer, right? When Tobias went there, you get Malik Beasley, you get some of these other guys, you get a coach who's not just cashing a paycheck and like actually wants to try to develop the team. That was a really big
paycheck, though.
Yes, it was a very big paycheck, but you get a better or a more engaged coach at the very least. I would say better based on the results. That makes a difference, right? Yes. So it's not a team that you just waltz in and are like, the Sixers aren't waltzing in and beating anybody. But I'm just saying across the league, the Pistons have been a much better night-to-night team with something close to an identity. And so even on the second night of a back-to-back, we've seen the Sixers have not been able to take advantage of these situations yet this season. They haven't been able to take advantage of any situation. So that's it just goes across the board. But yeah, so even with Cade out, it's not one that you just say, oh, yep, throw that one in the W column by any stretch.
Yep. So I'm waiting for them to, because they actually have him still in the starting lineup on their Twitter account in the backcourt with Jaden Ivey.
That gives me some time to look up some Andre Drummond, Kelly Oubre lineup numbers, which I'm sure are absolutely despicable. Okay, if you had to guess, lineups with Andre Drummond and Kelly Oubre
Oh, God.
per 100 possessions, how much are they winning or losing by?
Negative 17.
Devon, you have a guess?
I'll go high. Minus 20.
Minus 20.1 points per 100 possessions.
Yeah. It's just a very predictably bad combination.
They are second percentile in offense, 13th percentile in defense.
To be clear to those listening, you want to be at 100 percentile.
Yes.
100 is good. 0th is bad.
So second percentile stinks. Stinks out loud. And it's like all the most played lineups with those two stink. It doesn't really matter who the other guys are. It would have been nice. Maybe you'd play that with Jared McCain.
I'm really
nice.
hoping that the Cade Cunningham news will cause Nick to reevaluate his decision. I would like just logic to cause Nick to reevaluate his decision, but it led him to that point anyway, so I'm guessing not. But now the updated news hopefully causes him to reevaluate.
I know I'm obsessing over this one thing, but it is really irritating me. So you guys are dealing with all my intrusive thoughts.
And if you want to hear about
now.
our intrusive thoughts for 2.5 hours straight, make sure to watch the watch along.
Yes, the watch along coming up, presented by Coors Light. We'll be with you for this Saturday night game. Listen, folks, you finish your shopping, you got some leftovers with your Thanksgiving meal. Sit back, relax. The Birds don't play until tomorrow. Turn us on. We're more entertaining right now than the 76ers during the game. So we'll do
at least
that.
equally as entertaining.
At least equally. So hang out with us for the watch along. All three of us will be here. JP will be here. And we'll have a good time. Maybe the Sixers will get a W tonight against the Pistons. I'm still waiting for the Pistons to update their Twitter account also because they still have them in the starting lineup. But now they have him as a late scratch, and Malik Beasley will, in fact, start in his place. So Jaden Ivey, Malik Beasley get the start with Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren at the 5.
It is a left sacroiliac joint sprain for Cade.
I'm sorry, man. We need to just go back to
he's hurt.
Normal injury
I have no idea
designations.
what that means.
Ankle, hand, knee, foot, head,
You like the hockey one, the
ab,
the lower body,
groin,
the lower
back.
body. You don't
That's
like that
all
one?
you need to. And then just tell me if it's serious or day to day.
It's a thigh.
Come on, man.
Okay.
It's a joint
So
in the
just say
thigh.
thigh.
Left thigh injury. How about that? That
Just say
sounds like a
thigh.
normal person talking.
Yeah.
You want to
just
get
say
into
thigh.
all the granular details on your report internally? By all means.
Few more super chats here before we get to our best bets for the night. Davon, aka Schoolboy Beats. Nick Nurse is very unsmart, not starting. Jared shaking my head. Hopefully some Lester/Edwards minutes. Need some youth. Are they with the Blue Coats tonight, or are they?
Doughton is. I am not 100%.
Blue Coats were playing this evening.
I actually think
Yeah.
Lester and Justin might be there, but I'm not 100% on that. I got to double check.
All right. Well,
But Doughton is confirmed out and with the G League team. So that's the one I know for sure. I got a text on that.
appreciate it,
About an hour
Davon,
ago.
for the super chat. And all right.
Yeah, I think Lester and Justin
Doughton's
are at
the only
game.
one listed as out.
Okay, so we'll see where they go. I don't suspect we'll get minutes from those two guys. If Ricky's going to get some run, KJ might get some run. They're
Would
not
you
gonna play
rather
over
see
those two
either of those guys than Eric Gordon?
until we see them and say, get them off the floor.
That's
That's it. That's it.
I'm very on the fence on that.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
any of
can't
those
commit to
options
that.
are good.
Yeah.
They're not
so.
very good. No. So Ricky Council, KJ Martin, we'd like to see those guys out there on the floor with Jared McCain as well. Let's get to the Bet365 best bets of the night. We had a pretty good night there the other day, fellas. We hit on our same game parlay.
Gambling Gibbons, baby.
Same game parlay on Wednesday against the Houston Rockets. We got that one squared away. We were all good. And tonight, for this one, we really appreciate everybody again hanging out with us. But our pregame picks Brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And JP, throw those up on the screen for the picks. Had Tyrese Maxey for 25-plus points tonight after a 39-point outing against the Houston Rockets. A very, very good defense, and he did that to them on the second night of a back-to-back. Why can't he put up a 25 or more against the Detroit Pistons tonight on the second night of a back-to-back? Cade Cunningham not playing. So 25-plus for Tyrese Maxey. 2+ threes made for Malik Beasley. He made 5 of 9 for 25 off the bench. He's been shooting really well as of late.
Well, now that Kelly Oubre's in the starting lineup, I don't know.
Really good looks, in my opinion. And off the bench, ticked off. Jared McCain matches Beasley with 2+ threes to find his shooting stroke as he went 0 on Wednesday night.
Beasley's averaging 4.4 made threes per game over his last 12 games. I'm honestly surprised you were able to get an over-under that low. It seems like an automatic.
Really good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I think over that 12-game stretch, he's made more than 2 in 11 of those 12 games.
So why not take the 2 and just get the
freebie?
Get the definite. So Beasley and McCain 2+ threes, Maxey 25+. If you're riding with that one, if you're tailing that one, we're keeping track, of course. Make sure you do so at Bet365. This pregame pick segment, again, brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21+ and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, fellas, we got to get ready to get out of here to get things started for the watch-along as Tobias Harris and the Pistons welcome Tyrese Maxey and company to Detroit. We'll have it all for you right here
Winner
on the watch along.
What do we think?
Loss.
No, I'm going for a win.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to let Derek be on the positivity island by himself. I'm going to be Mr. Negative. And we'll see how negative we get on stream. And please come through and hang out.
Our pregame show was presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball to get Coors Light delivered or find a store near you. It's also going to be the sponsor for our watch along. We're going to take a few minutes away. We come back and we step in. Sixers Pistons right here. We're discussing it, watching it with you all along right here on the PHLY Sixers watch along. We'll see you in a minute.
We all silly like the mayor.